Hello everyone and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 3rd of February 2025. It's Gary here again, and what I can confirm to you as we start off this week is that this is a no tariff zone. This podcast, I can confirm that there are absolutely no tariffs being imposed from this podcast for wherever you are consuming your content. Oh my word, President Trump is causing a stir here in Canada, if you don't already know that. Actually, not just Canada, and I'm kind of pretty sure that's exactly what he wanted, and I'm really not sure how all of this is going to play out over time. What I do know is that you need to get on with your neighbours, and you need to make every effort not to antagonise your neighbours and just kind of try and plug along. And if there's a friendship there, great. If there's not, at least you can be in some way companions in the physical sense at the very least. And he doesn't seem to want to bother too much about that. So now there's things saying do not buy American over here. Obviously our convention is in America. So yeah, very, very, very interesting to see how it's all going to go ahead. Of course, this is not a political stance or a political podcast whatsoever, just a wee bit interesting. And I want to get back to the football. And the football, of course, is the main key talking points of this last week because it was such a tremendously successful week for our beloved club in terms of qualifying for the top 8 in Europe to get us automatically through to the last 16. As I mentioned last week there was an outside chance, but obviously other results had to go our way and we had to take care of beating USG, which was no mean feat in and of itself. We had very similar records going into that game and we managed to do it, and it was incredible, absolutely fantastic, and just another bit of a roller or a coaster part of this particular season. You take your pick as to what one that is, but great to see, and I'll get to that during the game segment here in a wee second. We also have some transfer activity and confirmation that Lyle Cameron has signed a pre-contract from Dundee. That's a really good move. I know there was a lot of talk about him especially on the WhatsApp group there just a wee while back, and he's the type and style of player that we should really be trying to attract as much as we can. He has, I think it's over 100 games, 108, 106 games, whatever it is, first team games for Dundee since his debut when he was 16, and very solid young Scottish player that's going to be able to help us out in the key areas of the field there. So it's going to be great to see that. I looked just before I started recording. Right now it is 12:08 p.m. my time. And I looked to see if there was anything happening, anything else. Maybe we would just go and offer them 25 grand a la, Glenn Kamara and get him a bit earlier. But I don't know that there's a desperate need for him to come in right at this moment anyway. So defence is where we were really, really struggling for a while there, but that seems to have kind of almost normalised itself over the last wee while. So let's go on with the content for this week. And the first game, of course, as I mentioned there, was Thursday's incredible 2-1 win over the USG that saw us qualify directly for the last 16 in the Europa League. Honestly, folks, who would have thought that? If we'd have thought back to the original draw that was made, I remember specifically saying, I don't know if I said it on this podcast or I said it elsewhere, but I remember specifically saying, accumulate as many points as we possibly can until we get to play Spurs and Man United, and then obviously we're going to tank in those games and then we'll see what happens in the last game. As it turns out, we should have beat Spurs and we should have got a draw against Man United, and it would have been an even more comfortable position we were in leading into the last game. But that's not the Rangers way sometimes, and it was just great. It was great to see such a packed stadium, and the team were up for it from the very beginning. Nico Raskin opens the scoring with a header from a set piece. Yes, you heard that right, a set piece, and it was a well worked corner that was just kind of taken out, and then Tav put a brilliant ball in. Kind of looked like one of my headers when I'm trying to clear it and it goes a different direction, but he was obviously trying to score with it. But it was great to see a set piece, and Raskin is an aerial threat for us overall. So it was great. That was great to get off to a really good start. Then our defending wasn't solid for the whole game, was it? And then we had they had a breakaway. Jack Butland, kind of no man's land, wasn't really here or there, and then rounded Jack, and then got James Tavernier, brilliant save, not on the line per se, but he saved the shot as it was going in, and that would have been a turning point, of course. But it was great to get that reprieve there. Then CD9 turns provider to go on a brilliant move and then set up Tierney for the second. And at that point, we're just in Wonderland. Then all the attention is on the phones, isn't it, or the computers, to see what the other scores are looking like. And I remember at one point, I can't remember all the teams. I know Spurs were involved in the mix, but I think it was like Wolfsburg, Nice, and someone else I can't remember. And then as the game went on into the second half, it was only one team that could help us, and then ultimately, I believe it was Nice. I can't remember. Don't quote me, or don't correct me. It doesn't really matter. But we got through. Then, as we are kind of want to do, they scored a. I thought it was a stupid goal. The ball comes in. Butland is literally nowhere. I mean, how a guy can score a header from almost 18 yards out is absolutely beyond me. And yeah, Jack Butland's having one of those times this season. Certainly not as solid as he was last year. And then it gives us a bit of a fraught ending to the game where we're frantically checking to see what's happening in the other games, because it might have been immaterial as it turns out, if we had ended up losing an equaliser, but thankfully we didn't. And then we seen it out, and then it's just another memorable European night for this team and this squad. And I kind of can't help but think, why can't it always be like that? It's very difficult to get yourself up for Dundee and Ross County and such, and then and not have another level when it gets to European nights. That's in and of itself what makes the European nights so poignant, so special, and so incredible. Actually, do you know one thing I talked about at the? I think I maybe talked about it with some of the boys over text during the game or after the game, and then a wee bit at the club yesterday. Was I wonder what the powers that be would have thought at Rangers. I mean, if they would have said, from a revenue perspective, what we get as prize money for qualifying automatically for the last 16, we could make that and then some with a home tie against one of the bigger teams, and then taking our chances to get through and doubling up on the money. I have no idea how the finances work at all, but I wondered if the team was kind of like, that might have been handy to get that extra revenue, or if the prize money, which we don't really know how much it is, truly the prize money and prestige and points and coefficiency and such is such that it makes more sense and is absolutely the best thing. From a pure footballing perspective, it's great not to have two very high profile, very difficult games for the squad to go through. And we get a chance to have a breather. There's 2 midweeks that have now been freed up for us to continue recuperating, give the opportunity to do work on the training ground. I know that's a bit cliche. We seem to, every time we have time on the training ground, we come back worse. But we have a new assistant manager in place, and if he'll want to do what he needs to do to embed his thoughts and philosophies and understanding on the team and the squad and such as well. So great. Positives, the top 8 is absolutely amazing. And by the way, we played, you probably know this already, but we played 4 of the other top 8. So we were involved, there's 5 teams that Rangers were involved with, one being ourselves, and we played 4. And we still qualified. I mean, isn't that magnificent? Honestly, that's a tremendous achievement. The atmosphere was great. The endeavour for the team from the team was great. The goals were really good. It was a really good game. On the negative side, it was a wee bit of a disappointment, of course, to lose Leon King so early. He has been so bereft of chances in the team, hasn't he? And then he gets that chance. Took a wee bit of a knock. Didn't seem too bad after it, but then you could see him saying on the TV, I can't see. And then, of course, he has to go off, so it's a wee bit of a makeshift side that we have there. I thought that the goal we lost, I mentioned that earlier, I thought that was really lame. I thought that was really poor positioning from the goalie. And actually, overall, I thought we were kind of all over the place when it came to set pieces. They just never took advantage and put any of them away. Not that they'd actually clear cut, but there was just mayhem in our box all the time. And I guess the last piece of negative part would be the later drama that we caused ourselves by losing that goal so late. It wasn't good for the blood pressure and it wasn't good for easing into the end of the game, but exciting nonetheless, and good to get the adrenaline pumping. In terms of stats, I was quite surprised by the possession stats. It said we had 46% possession, which I thought was kind of odd. It felt like we had the ball more than they did, but maybe not after we scored the second, perhaps. We had 9 shots on goal, 4 on target. Scored 2 of them, 50%. I'm happy with that. Versus they had 11 shots on goal with only 2 on target. So, and one of them would have been the goal as well. So that's a thing, I guess. On the referee watch, I don't really recall him having a bad game. I felt at the time, I do recall feeling that he was a wee bit lenient on them at times in terms of when they fouled us. But it didn't materially impact the game. It didn't materially impact my enjoyment of the game, and it didn't put our players, sorry, in a position of risk. So he's going to get 7 out of 10 for that one, the standard one. Nothing exceptional, nothing terrible. And the second game was yesterday's routine 4-0 win at home to Ross County. That's the type and styles of games that we should be having against Ross County. I don't really even want to talk about it right now, to be honest, because it was just kind of, it's 4-0 at home to Ross County. That's the place that I want to be in. And we haven't had enough of those, actually. I thought the first 10-15 minutes was very lame, like a really, really tough watch. I wasn't really sure what we were doing there. And then we had a Cherny shot tapped in by Hadji. Then we got a free kick. And then I said on the NARSA list yesterday it was like a snooker shot. It wasn't even going anywhere close to the goal. And then he got a massive deflection, took the goalie out of the game, and went in for Hadji's, in inverted commas, second goal. And then we then had John Suter. We scored another goal from another set piece. This is 2 in a row, folks. I'm starting to feel kind of funny about this. I don't know what this is, but 2 goals, and wait till I get to the penalty, and then 2 goals, set piece. John Suter, I mean, the guy, their defender's keeping everybody on side, and he's shouting and bawling at his defence for not cutting out Suter at the back post. And then I thought Suter was really unlucky to have another one chalked off for offside. It was just marginally offside, unfortunately. And then we got our first penalty of the domestic season. Let's just say that. That was a soft penalty. I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. I didn't think it was a penalty on replay. But they went to VAR. VAR confirmed that it was indeed a penalty, and that's that. So then Captain James Tavernier goes up and does what he does for penalties. He scored it and moved forward. So what's that, like 22 games in, something like that, and our first penalty? That's wild, isn't it? And then the second half was kind of just meh, wasn't it? There wasn't too much went on. I was kind of hoping we'd really turn the screws a wee bit and get a score that's a wee bit more eye catching in terms of 5 or 6 or 7 or something, but we just kind of kept going and doing what we're doing, plugging away, and then it's just one of those games. On the positive side, of course, the win, the clean sheet, no injuries, time for the new fellow Fernandez, more time for Bailey Rice, and John Suter continued his return. He got an hour in the game, and it was 61 minutes, I think they took him off. And then Tom Lawrence, remember him? He came back as well, and it doesn't look like he's been injured, so we get to maybe see him on the weekend again, and just really pay attention when he's there, because you don't know how long that is going to last. In terms of the negatives, not a lot. The game was a wee bit of a slog to watch at times, but good to see us put it away early and then just kind of work on the supposition that we're going to do more, and then get a chance not to be so fraught in the game. Stats tell the story, really. 73% possession, 18 shots on goal, 10 on target. We scored 4 of those, so that's a wee bit more than a third, a wee bit less than a half. Versus they had 1 shot on goal with 1 shot on target. So that's, I thought, 2 shots on goal, sorry, 1 on target. So that's a thing. And Stephen McLean, I thought, did well. I think based on Nick Walsh's performance last week, if Stephen McLean didn't just punch 3 Rangers players on the throat, he would have got a better score than Nick Walsh did for his absolute abomination last week. Of course, you'll know that got rescinded on the Monday. There was no hassle or messing about on that, or maybe the Tuesday it was, I can't remember, but that one's gone. And Steve McLean did well. I think overall nothing too spectacular, and we'll give him the 7 out of 10 as well. One game this week, seems a wee bit unusual to say that after being 2 for the last wee while, and that's in the Scottish Cup, the 5th round of the Scottish Cup, and that's against Queen's Park at Ibrox, the original Glasgow derby. And that's on Sunday, the 9th of February, with a 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 3:30 UK time, a wee bit of an odd timing there. Kick-off, and for these sorts of games, it's just an opportunity. I heard actually yesterday Tom Miller saying on commentary that Callum Davidson, of former Blackburn, St Johnstone manager and such, is now with Queen's Park. So he always put together a really good team, really good squad with a lot of fighting ethos and such. So if Tom is actually correct, and that's true, it'll be great to see Callum back at Ibrox again, and hopefully we'll just give him a pumping to welcome him back into the cauldron that is Ibrox Park. I mean, this one's easy, isn't it? Just win the game, no injuries, more game time for some of the players who haven't had a lot of minutes in their legs already, and then just move on to the quarterfinals. The key for me here is we get this break of this week, our time to train, and then we're away to Hearts, at home to St Mirren, and then away to Kilmarnock. away to Hearts, at home to St Mirren, and then away to Kilmarnock. And that is going to be a key testimony to see whether this team, whether this squad has actually genuinely turned things around and are finding ways to win, or the Dundee United game was a bit of a fluke. The European games take care of themselves and we can do what we need to do at Ibrox, but away from home we're still fragile. Who knows? We'll see what that looks like, but this is a very, very important month in terms of, honestly, quite honestly for me, in terms of Philippe Clement's credibility with the fan base, his ability to say, we know what the problem is, we've made strides and steps to fix it, and you can see that demonstrated in the results. So interesting month as we move on from here. On to the shout outs. I'm going to start with a bit of a sad one here. Unfortunately, last week we had heard, I think it was Robert O'Neill from the LA True Blues had put something on the NARSA WhatsApp group saying, announcing the passing of Colin Mayo, who had formulated the Atlanta Rangers Supporters Club, and he had passed away at age 62. And for any regular listeners, you'll know that, I mean, basically for me, anything under 75 is young these days, with the ability to add longevity through making choices and such on your health and your wellness and things. So when someone passes at 62, that's like a shocker. That's, almost Jimmy Calderwood, regions in terms of the age he is. I'm not 100% sure what happened to him, but I do, in my early tenure with NARSA, I recall dealing quite frequently actually with Colin in his role as being involved with. I wasn't sure if he was the president or secretary or so of the Atlanta Rangers Supporters Club, but my original dealings with him was when the club was struggling, and I don't think that they were super active at that time, and then they just kind of had to close the doors basically, and the club was no longer, which I knew was a source of great disappointment to Colin himself, and in a city as big as Atlanta, that he couldn't muster up enough people to get together to watch the games. I know the amount of work that he put in to create the club. I know the amount of work it takes to sustain a club. And one good thing about him, I was actually checking back my emails after I heard the news, he was always so good and so couth and so polite and so professional and respectful about offering opinions and such for things that NARSA could consider, things that are going well, things that could maybe be tightened up and such. So very, very disappointing news. I read his obituary, and it's just so sad. 4 gorgeous daughters there now without their dad at age 62, when they should be in the prime of their lives, enjoying the relationships that they've built and stuff. So sincere condolences from myself and everyone on the NARSA executive to Colin's family and friends on his very, very untimely passing. Secondly, I'll move on to Orange County Rangers Supporters Club, and I noticed something online yesterday from a couple of days ago where long-time member Tam White had gone through some surgery recently. I'm not 100% sure what the surgery is, but what I did want to do was pass on my own best wishes to him on his recovery, and from everyone at Orange County Rangers Supporters Club. That's on behalf of the president, Brian Campbell, who is of course an ARSA vice president as well. So get well soon, Tam, and really looking forward to seeing you again, my friend. And just on the, do you remember last month when the lady unfortunately passed away at the Aberdeen game? There's a lovely piece on the Rangers site, and her name was Jacqueline Malone Wallace, and passed away, as I say, at the Aberdeen game. And Rangers put together a beautiful piece. If you get a chance to see it on the website, just go to news and you'll see it basically up there. If you click news and then click club, it's the very top article right now, and just such a lovely, wonderful piece about her background, how she got involved with Rangers, and then a 20 plus years season ticket holder there. That's the sort of fan engagement that you'd like to see. Maybe not so much when someone passes away, that you need to wait for that. Some fan type, here's such and such a person who sits in the Sandy Jardine stand, has been a season ticket holder for 45 years. Those sorts of stories would be absolutely engaging for the wider fan base as such. But kudos to Rangers and the family of Jacqueline's for putting that together, and condolences again to everyone. On to just the announcement of the Melbourne City Loyal Rangers Supporters Club Culture Weekend. I've fluffed my lines every week for the last month or so about the dates, so I do have the dates for you now. And the main event dates are November 21st and 22nd, 2025, so this year. So just about, what's that, about 9 months away, nine and a half months away or so. Ian Ferguson, Gary Stevens, Stuart Monroe, all going. There's a boat cruise on the first day, and with Rangers songs being sung by a singer from Scotland, and then Saturday is the gala dinner, and there's some other bits and pieces. I'll leave the Facebook link up for that, and if you are interested in thinking about going along to that, then you'll have the details that you need. The women's team progressed in the Women's Scottish Cup by beating Montrose 7-0 yesterday to progress to the quarterfinals. And just before I started recording, I did get clarification that Rangers have drawn at home to Spartans in the quarterfinal. I'm not 100% sure when the quarterfinal games are, but it's looking a lot more attractive now because Glasgow City put the mob from the East End out on the weekend there. So Glasgow City, obviously one of the big three, which is now a big five, with Hearts and Hibs really in the race as well. And interestingly, Glasgow City have drawn against Hearts in the quarter final too. So this might be an opportunity, a really good opportunity for Rangers to retain the trophy that they won last week. And just another interesting, talking about rescinding red cards, as I talked about earlier in terms of Nick Walsh's absolute botch up for Diamandi's red card. Jo Potter got her red card rescinded for, as it was, supposedly withholding the ball in the recent Old Firm victory. And it was interesting because she just basically, you know, the way that you kind of put the ball behind your back and then you kind of drop it down. That's what she did. She got a straight red card for that. It was Rangers' throw. It's just the whole thing was just bizarre. And my understanding is the referee, like Walsh and some of his counterparts, could not get the card out quick enough. And it's just petulant and there for all to see about the biasness of the referees in Scotland. And the NARCO Curry Weekend is coming up next weekend. Now, when I say next weekend, not this weekend, I mean the next weekend. I know people have different ways of saying that, and that has come up pretty quick, hasn't it? It seems like I've been talking about this for 6 months. If you need any information, narco2025@outlook.com, and Andy Burnett will give you the information that you need. Thursday the 13th is the meetup at the Scots Corner. Friday the 14th is a brewery tour. In the evening, a London Knights hockey game. Saturday is the curry, and that's also going to be at the Scots Corner pub as well. And the Sunday is the game against Away to Hearts that I talked about a wee bit earlier there. That's the 16th of February, and then there'll be a wee farewell event that happens. I imagine it will probably just spill over straight from the game to the farewell event, and then that will be that. But I'm sure it's going to be a great time over there. I can't make it over there. I've actually only managed to go to one NARCO Curry Weekend, but needs must, and that just doesn't, it's not within the length of my cable tow right now. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. In terms of the convention update, 128 days and 18 weeks until we go to Kissimmee, Osceola County in Florida, June the 12th to the 15th. And that's, of course, at the Omni at Champions Gate. And some big news for us this week, and this is a big deal, it really is. We're actually getting some advertising time from Rangers through our partners at Experience Kissimmee. They've very generously given up their LED time for NARSA. So pitch side in the Queen's Park game this weekend, you're going to see the LED display. I've had a chance to look at it. I think it looks great. I'll provide them formal approval for that a little bit later today, and it will be there and good to go. And it would be, I mean, that'd be a proud moment for everybody who has contributed to, supported, attended NARSA events over the years, and whoever's listened to this. Any support that we get is much appreciated. And to see that come to fruition, I know we've been on the jumbo screen, I know we've been on the LEDs displays in the museum and in the Rangers shop, but to see his pitch side, that's some prime real estate in terms of marketing and advertising there. So thank you very much to everyone involved for helping us get that. Hopefully that provides a bit of an uptick in terms of interest and ticket sales for that. And you know, of course the tickets are out for sale, the hotel room bookings are out for sale, and we hope to get a wee uptick as we move forward. And just on that, the Rangers Review podcast interview that I mentioned, I think that was maybe 2 weeks ago, was dropped yesterday. So I'll put a link to the Rangers Review article today, and you'll get to see that. And the key part of that is you can watch it on video, you can listen to audio if you want. But one of the key parts of that is that Rangers Review have also extended a very generous offer to NARSA members, members' friends, family, neighbours, co-workers, whomever else is interested, of membership to the Rangers Review, to the actual, all the articles, all the content that they have, for £5. £5 for the entire year. It's an incredible gesture from them, and one that I hope a bunch of bears take absolute heed of. So I put some emails out about that yesterday to a distribution list. I'll keep the link on that for the next wee while, and hopefully people, as I say, take advantage of that. In terms of other business, just another reminder here that As per the outputs of our general meeting, we'll have the minutes distributed here pretty quickly. A reminder that this coming AGM in June at the convention, we do have an election. It's election year, and there's many positions that are up for grabs. Basically, we've got. I'm not 100% sure about convention director. I know Billy Ferguson kind of likes to typically decide a wee bit later. We've got RTV. Alan McWatt has expressed an interest to continue. Communications, Lorraine has expressed an interest to continue. However, if you have skills in those areas and you feel like challenging, you're more than welcome to do that. It's just open. I'm just giving you an idea of what that looks like. We have secretary, we have treasurer, we have vice president, possibly coming up as well. So there's a real opportunity if you're genuinely interested in coming on board to try and help NARSA, to try and help Rangers. Then we would love to hear from you. We'd love to talk to you. And as I said on last week's pod, and I'll mention this each week up to and including the AGM, it's much, much better for us if you have the skills for that particular position. We can teach you, of course, and we'll take the help that we can get, of course. But if you have specific skills, say in finances, you go for the treasurer position, that makes things a wee bit easier in terms of your understanding of the roles and responsibilities of the job and such. So please do get in touch with me if you want any more information. Rangers SCC, 2 S's and 2 C's, at hotmail.com, and I would be happy to give you a quick buzz and have a chat about that. On the communication section, fairly light this week again, and we have the Gers guide that was published again. Today is Inside Ibrox, the Ross County game, the press conference from after the Ross County game with Yanis Hadji, highlights of the women's team's victory over Montrose, and also information about the quarter-final of the Women's Scottish Cup, which I've just told you about. Tomorrow, they actually didn't have anything listed for tomorrow, but tomorrow is usually the loan review, so I imagine that will be tomorrow. On Wednesday, there's a forum with Mia Macaulay taking fans' questions on Rangers TV, so and then probably Rangers socials as well. So that'd be quite interesting to get involved with there. And then there's a section on it's called Academy Monthly, so it looks like a new feature that they have going on there. Not a whole lot Thursday. Friday, the press conference for the Queen's Park game. Not a whole lot on Saturday. The Queen's Park game, 3:30 p.m. UK on Sunday, and the Rangers women's team are back to league action, playing at home to Aberdeen, and that's at Broadwood Stadium with a 2 p.m. UK kick-off time. And just another wee plug here for the Rangers International Coaching Convention, which is on the 3rd to the 6th of April. If you have any interest in coaching, come along and see how Rangers do it, and they will steer you right. Okay, that will do it for this week, my friends. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to listen to this. Please do share it with at least one more person that you think might enjoy it. That would be very, very much appreciated. And for this week, just to kind of switch sports for a wee second, I would just like to wish Taylor Swift very, very the best of luck in this weekend's Swiftie Bowl that is coming up. Thank you to her for saving the NFL and everything that she has gotten. I think she deserves the victory just because of that, and I hope some key people are listening to this and throwing their phone across the room because I know it winds people up, but it'll be a good game. And we'll keep going. We'll hopefully progress in the Scottish Cup with minimal drama and see where that takes us from there. Until next week, please do take care of yourself and have a wonderful week. Follow.